This is the last manga panel that Toyotaro made at the end of his Dragon Ball AF series, telling his fans, his community, that he was leaving Dragon Ball AF, Dragon Ball fan manga scene, and he had been hired to be the lead on the Dragon Ball Super manga. This is how important Dragon Ball AF is to Toyotaro and Dragon Ball Super. So yesterday we broke the story that Toyotaro has been in communication with TABLOSAF, and if you guys don't know who TABLOSAF is, he is the creator of not only Super Saiyan 5, but he is the father to Dragon Ball AF, and basically spawned every single Dragon Ball AF, Dragon Ball fan manga that has come since, from artists like Young Gigi, Malik Torihane, and of course Toyotaro. So it isn't that much of a surprise that Toyotaro has a huge affinity for someone like TABLOSAF, because without him, don't know if he would have been in the position of Dragon Ball Super manga's creator. But today we have more information on Dragon Ball AF, Super Saiyan 5, and Tablos and his story. You guys have been asking me for it in my last video. Again, thank you for all the support on that video. You guys are awesome. You guys have been asking me for more information. So today I have a full video on information that we got for this creator and what kind of implication this could mean for the future of Dragon Ball Super. But before I begin, thank you guys so much for everything you guys do. You guys are my ground crew, always here every single day, liking the video, commenting, everything like that. And without you guys, I wouldn't be here. So thank you guys so much for everything you do. Let's go ahead and jump in. A few years ago, Polygon created an entire article about Dragon Ball AF, Super Saiyan 5, and the story of TABLOSAF. And so I'm going to be reading from this article and giving you guys all the information that is stored within. This is probably the best article telling the story that I could find. There was a couple other ones, like Kaizenshu had some, and other websites had others, but I feel like this is probably like the best one that describes everything very, very easily. And so I'm going to leave a link to this article. Huge shout out, all the credit to this article in the link description below. Go ahead and check it out. But I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys exactly what the article says right now. In 1999, the Dragon Ball faithful witnessed the image of the fabled Super Saiyan 5. There he was, immaculately chiseled, Goku, pecs and delts where they couldn't possibly exist, standing aloft and unfazed above another alien battleground. His mane was crystal white. It spiked down his back to meet a regal Samian tail and a billowy pair of ivory fight pants. Aesthetically, Super Saiyan 5 merged the hairy primeval weirdness of Super Saiyan 4 and the angelic excess of Super Saiyan 3. When the image appeared on prehistoric fan forums in the late 90s, prehistoric, it was easy to buy in. No one questioned it because no one wanted to break the spell. We'd spend hours each day on our 56K modems downloading images of different characters whose names and likeness were foreign to us, and random low-resolution video clips from across different series, including from Dragon Ball GT, which had yet to air, says Derek Padula, a Dragon Ball historian and the author of the forthcoming book called USA DBZ, The True Power of Dragon Ball Z in America. Derek Padula, great guy, huge source of intellect when it comes to Dragon Ball, and I highly recommend all his work. All of it was fascinating and novel, and fans shared clips and characters with a lot of excitement. Everyone was trying to put their pieces together of who these people were and how the Dragon Ball story unfolded. The Dragon Ball information trade was slow at the turn of the millennium. Americans were constantly behind the curve as new episodes debuted in their native Japanese long before they were translated and localized on Cartoon Network's Toonami. As Padula explains, fans only learned about the concept of Super Saiyan 1 as rumors of a possible Super Saiyan 2, 3, or 4 trickled through the unofficial GeoCities and Angel Fire pages that cultivated otaku news. The hearsay made the concept of Super Saiyan 5 exceedingly plausible, so despite being authorless and the fact that it was unwatermarked and presented without copyright endorsement, The Super Saiyan 5 image was still added to the patchwork timeline. Do a Google image search for Super Saiyan 5 today, and the same portrait pops up on the very first page. It is something that I definitely need to look into. I did not know that. The famed Super Saiyan 5 was a hoax. The image did not come from Dragon Ball creator Akira Toriyama's pen, nor was it intended as a superpowered drawing of Goku. That's the first thing David Montiel Franco corrects me when I reach out to him over Twitter to talk about the fan art that accidentally made him famous. The Saiyan in question is named Tablos. Franco created him in 1998 when he was 17 years old. Looking at the issue of Hobby Consolas, the Spanish gaming magazine that published Franco's drawing, you can begin to see how the misdirection started. The stoic silver-haired Saiyan takes up the bottom corner of the page, alongside with the inscription Dragon Ball AF. AF was the name of Franco's own homebrew manga series. He dreamt up storylines that could take place after the conclusion of Dragon Ball GT, a time where there weren't any new episodes on the horizon. The goal was to innovate the Dragon Ball series, creating new characters, new races, and new enemies, taking place in the alternative future of Trunks where no Z Warrior existed, Franco tells me over email. So in his own personal fiction, Tablos was an unknown Saiyan who miraculously survived the destruction of planet Vegeta, and little by little would start to know his real identity. This was the late 90s, a time when millions of newborn Dragon Ball fan artists, mostly in high school and middle school, flooded the forums with their own rough takes on Toriyama's classic silhouettes. In that sense, Franco was like any other teenager, mocking up his very own fanime as a way to claim a corner of the DBZ multiverse. The only difference was that Franco's art was light years better than the amateurish mock-ups of his contemporaries. Removed from its original context, it would be easy to believe that it came directly from Toei's mothership. And that's exactly what happened. Sometime in the late 90s, a theoretical Dragon Ball fan scanned that Hobby Consolas page, cropped everything but the majestic image of Tablos, and posted it on a forum where people inferred that it was Goku transformed into a mythical Super Saiyan 5. Franco's name was removed from the proceedings entirely, and the community, frothy with the hope of new content, new characters, and new power levels, jumped to the conclusion that it was witnessing a spicy new leak from Japan. Dragon Ball lifers were particularly interested in an innocuous AF in the corner of the drawing, which scanned as a logo for a new series. The fan community eventually agreed that AF must stand for After Future, the hush-hush project that Toei Company was working on to continue Goku's journey into higher and higher celestial power plateaus. According to Padula's research on his Tao of Dragon Ball blog, which is a great blog by the way, the internet rarely questioned the veracity of AF, believing in something as exciting as a Super Saiyan 5 Goku in 100 plus new half-hour shows was a blast. Fans filled in the margins with homemade illustrations, videos, and episode listings for the hypothetical AF, which created a bedrock of material that made it hard for any casual to cast doubt. Franco wasn't aware of any of this. After sending and publishing the image in that magazine, I started to work and study at University of Alicante and stopped drawing. He says, for nearly 20 years, he had absolutely no idea that his fan art was being passed around as an official image from the Dragon Ball Brain Trust. Meanwhile, people like Padula were eating it up. Only the super well-educated fans would have seen the entirety of the series by then, such as by watching the Japanese bootleg VHS tapes, could now know that it wasn't real, he tells me. These educated fans created a small, dissenting voice in the crowd, but most people remained ignorant of the truth and falsehood. There's so much to learn about Dragon Ball and so much misinformation that it can be difficult to tell what's real and what's fake. The element of doublespeak has always been a crucial ingredient of Dragon Ball's fandom, simply because it's difficult to follow the whims of an enigmatic production company across the Pacific. Dragon Ball is a series made by a Japanese man who is still alive today, but prefers to remain hidden, while a giant publisher and animation studio produce his works and distribute it to the world, continues Padula. If Toriyama were like Stan Lee or another comic creator who was actively involved in the community they helped create, he could have squashed those rumors as soon as they began, and it would have put the final nail in the coffin, which didn't end up happening. Today, a random fan can pen a tweet to J.K. Rowling and can potentially receive a fiction-altering nugget delivered right to their door. That's never been the case with Dragon Ball. The universe is too silly, too unruly, and too stuffed with fringe cases for anyone to be certain they're standing on solid ground. And that's kind of the reason that I do what I do on my channel, because there's so much of the Dragon Ball story that is complicated and not explained that Toyotaro can explain, or fans can gather information from what's been put out there and explain it themselves. This is a franchise that's deemed an entire television arc, Dragon Ball GT, to be non-canon, which Toriyama said it's a spin-off. So is it really that surprising that the community could be baited by some well-executed fan art? To me, that's just a lovable symptom of the culture, which I agree, especially when we get like that artwork that, oh, this is like the new movie or something coming out, and it's like Goku with Miras, and you know, they're training like on a different planet, or Goku with Whis, or Broly's child or something along those lines. Like, that's a love letter. Those types of ruses are love letters to the actual genre, the actual mythos of Dragon Ball. As the decades piled on, the internet accelerated and more Americans got their hands on episodes of Dragon Ball. It slowly became clear that Super Saiyan 5, at least in Franco's interpretation, didn't exist. The rumor was firmly put to bed in 2012 when Padula made it his mission to determine the origins of the drawing once and for all. He laid out all the detective work on his blog, but basically he tracked down that issue of Hobby Consolas, examined Franco's signature in Photoshop, and miraculously found him online. Padula was the first one to inform Franco of the legacy he inconspicuously left in his wake. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine drawing something, forgetting about it for 20 years, and then like that spawned an entire subsection of Dragon Ball fans or whatever? That's amazing. I was totally ignorant about this issue all that time, says Franco. The problem was that I was absent and people didn't know the real origin of the picture. In 2015, Dragon Ball Super premiered, serving as the first entry in the Dragon Ball universe since the late 90s. It definitely meant that Toriyama was not working on anything called Dragon Ball AF or Super Saiyan 5. Given Toei's general reticence with the press, this was about as close as anyone was going to get to a formal repudiation of the myth. And yet, the folklore still exists. Go to the Dragon Ball Wiki and you can find a delightful in-universe history of Super Saiyan 5 form, and how Goku was the first to achieve it, and how it differs from the contours of Super Saiyan 4, with absolutely no disclosure that the fiction was generated out of thin air by hopeful fans. Scroll through the fan art inspired by Franco's drawing that drapes the other Dragon Ball characters with the same trappings. Super Saiyan 5 Gohan, Super Saiyan 5 Vegeta. Legend has existed for too long for it to ever die. Lives eternal, says Padula, like Shenron. The legacy is built on wish fulfillment. If you grew up believing that Franco's illustration was canon and that Americans were just around the corner from finally getting their hands on AF, it can be difficult to conceive that all that anticipation was for naught. Super Saiyan 5 Goku is real, is the Dragon Ball version of Elvis lives, adds Padula. People want to believe. At this point, I would just be happy with Super Saiyan 4, to be honest. Dragon Ball, in its beautiful absurd sprawl across countless video games, movies, mangas, and dubs, encourages its viewers to distort their discernment. Super Saiyan 5 will be passed around for eons. It belongs to the fans. It is as real as anyone wants it to be, given how other more contemporary fan manga series like Dragon Ball New Age and Dragon Ball Multiverse continue to thrive, not excluding Dragon Ball Kakami, continue to thrive, and dose of non-canon daydreaming may be a positive force. Franco has greatly enjoyed his discovered celebrity. In 2016, for the first time since he set off for university, he started drawing Dragon Ball art again, encouraged by his friends who told him how many people in the community still thirsted for the Dragon Ball or for the AF mythology. Last year, he went to several manga conventions with his canvases in tow. When he set up his booth, behind him always is that same fierce portrait of Tablos. I mean, I would always put it there. Super Saiyan 5 Goku has lifted a lapsed fan artist out of exile and returned him to his rightful place. Franco isn't an official arbiter of the canon, but he's also not either. The Dragon Ball universe is full of contradictions. It makes sense that the reality surrounding it would be the same way. The majority of people don't believe that I am the original creator. Other people ask me, when will Dragon Ball AF anime start? He says, I feel like another simple Dragon Ball fan who grew up with the series. Hopefully I could collaborate with Toei Animation in the future. We would have an amazing Dragon Ball series, I promise, which honestly, it could be happening. Like, this could be what comes comes of it. His dream could possibly be coming true if Toyotaro is requesting his assistance in the shadows, if he's trying to bring him on board quietly. And I think it would be kind of tough to do because, I mean, Toei is a Japanese company and they're really tight about that. Like, they're not going to bring somebody from a different country in usually, but I don't know. Maybe Toyotaro has the official authority to like bring anybody he wants in. I don't know. But that was the story of Franco, Tablos AF, and Tablos Super Saiyan 5 and Dragon Ball AF. He created this artwork and it spawned everything we basically know. And I'll be honest with you guys, Goku's Ultra Instinct transformation, like, that is basically Super Saiyan 5 inspired, and so is Beast Gohan at this point, at least somewhat, you know. So I'm just really excited to see what comes of this, and I have a bunch of videos coming to you guys about how this could change the Dragon Ball Super manga going forward. But let me know what you guys think, and should I check out Tablos' Dragon Ball AF? It's still going. It's an ongoing series. It's got multiple chapters. Should I start reviewing that? Should I start covering that? Let me know in the comment section below. Take care, guys.
Subscribe for more content. Or perish.